Wake up in the morning, I just gotta get it. Wake up in the morning, I just gotta get it.
All right, welcome everyone to the Schoology Learning Podcast. Thanks for joining us. This is the podcast where we talk about some things we're hearing out in the world about education, as well as some tips and tricks about our favorite platform, which is, of course, Schoology. My name is Kellie, and I'm joined by my colleague, Ericka Waterman.
Hey, Kelly. I'm so excited for us to take this time. I just remember how fun it was when I was teaching to take the lunchtime or, any little break that we had and just kind of talk with colleagues. So hopefully everyone can join us and just get a little chit chat about education and Schoology while they're at it.
Yeah, so let's get started. Hey, Ericka, how's it going?
It's going so well. Kelly, how are you doing?
Doing very well. I had that conversation last week that I thought you'd be interested in. Not that you're not interested in all the conversations, but this one specifically. So we had a customer who reached out and they were super excited about, they'd read an article, and it might have been actually on a Power Up when they said, oh, I'm super excited to see course templates get released. And I thought, I'm not sure they know it's already out. And so I reached back out and I was like, let's just meet. Let me just walk you through what we already have. And so I think she got confused about the automatic provisioning of course templates that we do have coming out in the near future.
Yeah.
However, she didn't even know they had course templates. And so when I showed her that it was just a permission, because I kept saying like, oh, you should see a tab, in the course. And she was like, we're not. I was like, oh. And she was like, how long has this been here? And I thought, oh no, like and she was like, she said, we did all this work last year. So you're saying we could have just we could have
in course templates.
like we have directions for teachers on how to go into resources and like copy all this over. And so anyway, she's excited because she saw it now, and she saw that the grade settings are included, which is something that she was like, oh, we could set that from here if we
Oh, it makes it so much easier for teachers. We'll just set up the grades, boom, done. Yeah.
But those things about permissions where it's hard to get the word out sometimes. And I think we try and we like the power ups and everything, but yeah.
Well, and I also think some people are like, oh, that must be extra because I don't see it in my site and not realize that it's a permission that needs to be turned on. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out how to solve that because I've got a new thing coming out, which is going to be in the same boat. So I think I've talked to you about this before. We might even have hinted about this on the podcast before. But we've been working really hard on what we're calling conditional release. And basically this is where you can set release conditions for a material about when you want it to show and who you want it to show to according to the conditions that you're determining. And we'll kind of explain that here.
Yeah, a long requested feature.
Oh, by the way, I think it's just going to be huge, and it's working so well. I'm so proud of the team for how they've done this. But we're putting it so that the district has to turn it on before anybody can use it. And we're doing that deliberately because we're going to go through what this is and all its benefits, but it is something that is going to take a bit of know-how. You can't just jump and figure it out. You definitely got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But that's another, like, we got to be careful about how do we get that message out and make sure people know to turn it on and make it available. So it's a really good tie-in, good reminder, because it is really cool. So what do you know about conditional release?
Well, I'll tell you what I can tell you that what we've heard for many years, and this came up before COVID, but I feel like COVID introduced some like online workflows that maybe people were especially interested in. But we used to get questions on, because we have right now the whole student completion rules, and people always ask like, what do I do if someone doesn't get to it? Like, what if I need to direct them somewhere else? Yeah. And we didn't have a great answer for it. And so my understanding of conditional release is that it's going to solve for that. Like we can still do student completion rules, but when you actually want to tailor the learning to whether or not a student did or achieved a certain something on something, then you can actually design where they go. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you will go to this folder. You can skip that folder because you have exceeded. Like, I'm super excited. Am I right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're 100% right with that. So basically, we had originally student completion rules, like you mentioned. This currently exists. It's, people have been using it.
Yeah.
But it was for all material, all students, like
Yeah.
straight up, no, there was no way around it. Like to your point, it's like, this
Right.
is all going to show, it's going to show in the order and it's going to show for everybody.
Yeah.
What we're adding with being able to set these release conditions is that I, as a teacher, can say, because Kelly is performing this way, she needs this material. Because Ericka is performing this way, she needs this material. And now I can tailor instruction at the level that students are at.
Yeah.
The best way I can phrase this is, I remember teaching, I was a language arts teacher, and I would always give like a pre-assessment on whatever it was that we were focusing on. So let's just take, for example, in our nonfiction unit, some of just the super basic concepts, like being able to tell fact versus opinion, right?
Yeah.
I would get a little pretest on that. And then depending on how the students did, I would assign them to a group. So either they came and sat in the back with me and I taught fact versus opinion, and I taught like, this is how to tell the difference between the two, or they were kind of in the middle of the road and I gave them an easy assignment to just kind of get more and more comfortable and prove that they really knew fact versus opinion. And then I had the kids who were like, okay, they've got it. They scored 100%. Let's give them more difficult material, like a higher reading level, something that would be a little harder to decipher, because I wanted to make sure that I was differentiating in the classroom. Like, let's meet kids with where they're at, in order to help their instruction. And before, that was all manual. Right? I could give the assessment and I could get a report. We have plenty of tools out there, like our sister product, Performance Matters, that does a great job of that. But I still had to like manually assign things to students and say like, yeah, I can individually assign, but I still have to do this work. And the beauty of conditional release, I can set this all up as a teacher. As soon as the kids take the pretest, they're going to be assigned whatever was their task at the level that they're at. And I don't have to lift a finger after that.
Right.
Which I think just I'm hoping this sounds like music to teachers everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it will. And I know like there are other LMSs that have this. And I'm thinking about like higher ed, because we had Moodle before we had Schoology, and Moodle had something like that. It didn't look great. Nothing against Moodle. And it also was, but I think to your point earlier, it did require some forethought. Like you have to have materials that they'll go to then afterwards, right? You have to have a plan for that, or right? Like
yes,
you don't just turn it on and go, okay, well, it's enabled.
Exactly. Like you can't just be like, okay, kids, you're in this bucket, but I don't know what that means or what the activity is.
Yeah.
The good news is that through having to test this functionality, right, being a part of the product team, I wanted to make sure that what we're producing is quality.
Yeah.
Through having to test this, I've decided to try it with science, with math, I've just been like trying to think of any topic I could to see how this differentiation would work using the condition release rules. And our PowerBuddy, using those tools, has really helped me create the activities that they're going to be able to do. So then I can assign those out. And it turns out that no matter what the topic was, even if it was something that I wasn't overly familiar with, I was able to create all of that in like a half hour. So 3 assignments and the release conditions. I mean, it was pretty quick to provide really differentiated instruction, which I just think is super powerful.
That's very cool, actually. And it's, until you mentioned PowerBuddy, I mean, I'm sure I would have gotten there eventually, but like, I hadn't thought about like when we were hearing all these requests before, it was before AI ever really had hit the scene. And so given that now you can have PowerBuddy tell you, or you can say like, I need this.
Like, this is what I'm looking for. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly think that the two coming out, because the PowerBuddy tools have really come a long way, and
Yeah.
especially now that they're free for everybody in Schoology.
Yeah.
This year, I think if we would have released conditional release any sooner, I don't think it would have been used as heavily as I wanted because of that factor, right? Because it's, you have to have the material
Yeah.
to sign it out to.
Yeah.
But it is cool. Like we're going to do, it's got like, you can do a higher than a certain score, lower than a certain score, a range. You can do whether they've viewed it, whether they've just submitted it. And then now that we've built the structure of it, we're going to be able to add more options down the road, which I think is going to be great too.
So when you were designing this and thinking through some of the workflows, what kind of struck you as, because you just said you're working on this with science and math, like,
Yeah.
do you think there's topics that this will be harder to pull? I mean, I'm thinking, I'm like, I think this would work for just about everything. Like,
I think it will too.
yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe not for everything in a course, but like,
Oh, yeah. I think you
Yeah.
got to use it when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be times where you just need everybody to do something, which
Yeah.
is also the beauty of conditional release. This is another thing that I love is that not only can you use it to split out, right? So I take a pre-assessment
Yeah.
and I get these different groups things, and students only see the assignment assigned to them. So they
Yeah.
never see that you got a different assignment than I did, whatever,
Yeah.
which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
But then you can have those release conditions set to all go back to one material. So then as soon as they complete it or they score a certain way or whatever, they all come back together and now we're all moving forward as a class, right?
Oh, that's
So
great.
it's also, you can split off as much as you want, but you can also, bring them all back together when needed. So I just think it's going to be so powerful, but it is going to take a bit of setup. So, this is coming out in June in the 25.6 release, which will be about the time roughly around when this episode airs.
Yeah.
And I hope people dive in and start taking a look at this because it is stuff that as you prep for next year, be
Yeah.
thinking about how you could use this so that way you can get it set up correctly.
Well, it's perfect timing because I feel like, and I don't know when people are going to be listening to this, but like if they're listening to this close to when this episode releases, that's right around when a lot of people are doing rollover anyway. So hopefully they'll have courses, within a week or two if they don't already have them. And then they could even just start playing with that now to think about what might be something. And maybe you just pick a class or a specific unit that you want to, try that with first. And I mean, that's what I would do. I would think about like, oh, I already had this idea. Like you said, like I used to do this manually. Like, how would I do this now if I could leverage this? And I have to say, I'm really glad that we're not getting rid of student completion rules because I think they actually have a place. So the fact that these complement each other, I think is going to make this a really great combo to have for helping students be on the right path and stay on it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yep. I'm glad you feel that way because I see the two as operating. They both serve a purpose to your point. Student completion rules. I want all the kids to see everything within this folder. Conditional release. I only want, to assign it out to students who need it.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to work really nicely together. I also think this is going to be so beneficial for credit recovery. I don't know if you ever had to do credit recovery classes or like when kids had to retake stuff for summer school.
We had to support it, like,
okay.
But I think I remember us using a specific like it was like a program where people like went to another system to do that. And I think it was because we needed the certificate for like credit recovery. Like I think it was something that was just beyond like what Schoology at the time. So
yeah. Well, when I did it for summer school, and it was for students who had like failed and they needed to, finish, keep taking, to get credit for the class. And it was always difficult because I hated to start kids at the beginning if that's not where they needed to start, or maybe they needed the beginning but not the middle, or maybe they just needed the end. And so I think conditional release is going to come in really handy for that. Because imagine you're going to be able to give like unit A, right? Give a pre-assessment if the student performs well enough, shoot them on down to the post assessment. If they can pass that too, cool, they get to move on to unit 2. If they don't, make them go back and do all the material from unit 1. So it's going to be able to really isolate what do the students need to know and be able to prove that they can do in those credit recovery courses. So pretty excited about the functionality there.
So I have a question that you might get from people.
Mm-hmm.
One of the challenges we always had with student completion was due dates.
Yes.
So, and for the credit recovery, or for students that were on, let's say, purely asynchronous courses where they may join at different points in the year, it was designed actually so that it would work without due dates. Like conditional release was like, it doesn't matter, or sorry, student completion, like it didn't matter. How does that play with?
So we're battling a couple different ways to do this.
Okay.
And one is, having that due date would then like publish it to the student, right? Because that's really all conditional release is. It's like all of the material exists and it's all available. It's just that depends on what the student has to do for it to show. And so we've talked about like, do we just make it show on the due date? But then it does show to everybody on the due date, and you don't want that to happen, right? And so then we've also talked about, but you do have to eventually move the student on. So like, let's say they've been assigned material and the only way to move on is to complete that material, or they can't move on to the next step. We've talked about what is that trigger? What is that trigger that causes it to, now you just have to jump to the next thing. The next thing appears and you get to move on. So we've been gathering some feedback on that. That'll definitely have to come into play of like, when do you release that next thing to the students?
Well, actually, I think people are going to love what you just described, because the challenge people had with student completion was they wanted to use due dates. And like, you could if you went in and you did bulk edit and like, but it wasn't designed to work that way. It was designed to be like purely just on the release of the material, basically based on completion of something. And people are like, but we need the due dates. Like we need to have a date. Yeah.
Yep.
So
because it's forward.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. Because it definitely is finding, as you know, because you work with a lot of districts, no district does everything the same. I have not found one district who does things all the way the same in Schoology, let alone philosophically, let alone like it is. So even if districts say they work together and they're like, yeah, we really like what they're doing and we're going to try it, they still put a twist on it, right? Everybody, which we could probably talk a whole episode on the pros and cons of that, but so what I found is the trickiest part about being in product for Schoology is walking that line between making it flexible enough that it meets everybody's needs, but not so flexible that it's overly complicated, that it's, like hugely difficult to navigate, right? Yeah. Like it's finding that nice balance. And that's what we're striving for.
Yeah, that's why it's part of the reason why I actually don't like using the term best practices. I know everyone says that, but I always feel like, well, best for whom? Because what's best for a particular district may be the absolute wrong way that somebody else would do it. And they're like, that isn't best. Like, so we tried to use different ways of phrasing it, like promising practices, or like something else besides that. Best, like, or like best for you practices. Let's.
I wonder then, because I wanted to come up with a couple best practices for a conditional release, but maybe I should call them like happy path practices, meaning, I don't know if our listeners know that term. Happy path in our world is that this is how we hope people will use it. This is what it was designed to do. We mean for people to use it in X, Y, and Z ways. When I know there's all of you out there who are going to find all different ways to kind of mess with it. But I wonder if we shouldn't do like, these are happy paths. So not necessarily best practice. And you're right. Like it's not necessarily maybe the best for your district, but it is the best for the software.
Best designed practices.
Yeah,
maybe.
best designed. Yeah. Like this is what we meant it to do, but good luck.
Well, and to your point, I'm looking forward to hearing all the different ways that people start to use this. This is always the fun part where, yes, there's something that we know is going to be something that is needed. And then you hear all these unique ways people are like, oh, I used it for this. And you're like, oh, that's,
I never would have thought of that.
I never would have thought of that. Yeah. So that'll be fun.
Yeah,
So
it should be. I am looking forward to it. And there's going to be more to come. Like we really do believe that this conditional release, there's something here and there's something worth continuing to develop. But we kind of want to get it out, get people trying it, see like, okay, now that you've been doing this for a while, like one of the things that we know we want to do is how do we help teachers visualize where on the path the students are? Do you know what I mean? So they can see like, oh, Ericka had to take this and now she moved over to this and now she moved over to this, right? Like, so that they can kind of see where I'm at in the lesson or the material. So we're looking at ways
rules, right? Like you can check the box. Yeah.
Yeah. So, more to come with that. But we just want, we know it's going to be powerful right out of the gate. I heard nothing but positive things from the people who've been trying it. So I know it's going to be beneficial, but then what do we do as next steps? That'll be the exciting part.
Well, looking forward to showing it off at ISTE because it'll be released. Like we go to ISTE on the 29th, I want to say. So I will be sure to
Very
actually
fresh.
Yep. Show it.
That's great. Well, thanks, Kelly, for showing it off.
Yeah.
And for talking about this. I'm super excited about conditional release. So
I am too.
It's fun to be able to chat about it.
Thanks for all the work on it. Well, thanks for joining this episode of the Schoology Learning Podcast. Hope to see you next time where we'll talk about some more topics of interest and, of course, talking about our favorite platform, Schoology.
And in the meantime, if you click on the user toolbox at the bottom of the Schoology page, there are lots of resources out there, including other episodes of this podcast to listen to until next time.
And hope to see you next time. Thanks all.